Good evening. I'd like to call the Wednesday, September 18th meeting of the Boone County Board to order at 6:03 p.m. We'll start by Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for a brief prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, we thank you for another opportunity to gather together and do the work of our community. We ask that you be with us, guide us, and strengthen us so that we may have knowledge to do the things that are right for our community and not necessarily for ourselves. We ask that you be with the family members of all our servicemen and women across our country and across the world as they stand in harm's way for our freedoms. In your name we pray. Amen. Roll call, please.
Carl Johnson.
Here.
Sherry Bartell.
Here.
Jeff Carlisle.
Here.
Denny Ellingson.
Here.
Sherry Gieske.
Here.
Carl Larson.
Here.
Ray Larson.
Here.
Jessica Muehlner.
Here.
Marshall Newhouse.
Here.
Bernard O'Malley.
Here.
Brad Stark.
Here.
Kathy Ward.
Here.
Next up, I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda. Before I get that, I would like to just make an amendment to the agenda under 5.2, County Clerk Announcements. If I could have a motion to approve.
Chairman, I would move to approve as amended.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Newhouse, seconded by Mr. Stark. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, I would accept a motion to approve the August 21st County Board meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Carlisle, seconded by Mr. Stark. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment. I have no slips up here. Do we have anybody in the public that would like to make any comments? No, I know. Mr. Davis, we'll get you in just a minute. All right. Next up, County Clerk announcement.
Thank you. On the table here, I have put some flyers out. Mr. Newport, the treasurer, myself, and the extension office are working together to provide a free class for anyone who's interested in learning about elections, how to become a candidate, how to register to vote, the different ways of voting, and then, of course, how to become an election judge. So there are 3 classes offered. September 25th, next Wednesday, we'll be here in this boardroom. Wednesday, October 2nd, will be at the County Extension Office Meeting Room on Cadillac Court. And Thursday, October 10th, it will be held out at Candlewick Lake Rec Center. And all of those times to start will be at 6:30. So we'll provide all the materials to you. And again, we just hope that you come. This is not a political event. This is merely an informational event.
Any questions? Thank you very much. Next up, reports from agencies. Council on Aging. We have Mr. Davis here. He is going to introduce us to the new director of the Boone County Council on Aging. No, we'll come back to that, I guess. See what happens.
Thank you.
Is it working?
I don't think. Yep, it's working. It's a real privilege, and I'm excited to introduce to you Kelly Helen. Kelly is the new executive director of the Boone County Council on Aging. Kelly was appointed as a result of a unanimous recommendation from the staff after they interviewed her, unanimous recommendation of the executive committee, and unanimous vote of the board. We're excited to have her on board. We're looking forward to new things. And by the way, we appreciate the financial support we get from the county board.
Thank you. Kelly, anything you'd like to share?
Oh, I just wanted to thank you all for allowing me just a couple minutes. I wanted to just say hello and that I'm looking forward to working with you all in the future as we all work together to serve the members of our community. Thanks.
Any questions from the board? Well, Ms. Hillman, congratulations on your new position, and on behalf of the whole board and the community, congratulations and thank you for being a part of our community.
I should tell you, she had experience in Stevenson County with a council on aging, and we were very, very lucky to get her.
Wonderful. Thank you. Next, we're going to step back because when I don't wear my glasses, I skip things. So we'll go back to appointments and recognitions. We have no appointments, but we do have some recognition here, so to speak. Kathy Hughes from the Daughters of the American Revolution is here to just address us a little bit on a proclamation for Constitution Week.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Hughes, Regent of Asa Cottrell Chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. What a powerful statement to begin the guiding document of our national government. Former Senator Robert Byrd once said, "Our ideals of freedom, set forth and realized in our Constitution, are our greatest export to the world." He believed that all citizens should know about their rights as outlined in the Constitution. We ask that you add your support to Constitution Week 2019. Thank you.
Thank you. That being said, I would ask for a motion to approve a resolution for Constitution Week.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Ms. Ward, seconded by Ms. Gieske. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you. Wait, you have to wait. I'm told to stop you. Not forcibly, but just to ask you to wait. If you want to come up here, I'll give you this. They don't tell me everything I'm supposed to do anymore. They tell me that I can tell you can go now, so. Thank you very much for being here. Next up, growth dimensions. I don't see Pam here, so I know Sherry, you were at the meeting today.
I was not able to go, and I
Okay.
just got a text from Pam. Her son just got hurt in practice, so she won't be here.
Okay. Thank you very much. CASA.
Didn't get any notes from Charlotte. Nothing,
Okay.
nothing to report then.
Board of Health. Skinrich, you are up.
That was fast, which is fine. So Amanda couldn't be with you tonight, so she sent me. I'm Ellen Genrich. I think most of you know me. She always has something for you, so I'll pass that around. And we'll just kind of give you a couple updates on 3 domains out of the 12. We won't bore you with all of them. The one that's going around would be Domain 3, which is our Inform and Educate. So the Health Department will be offering another round of Narcan trainings. Those are the free trainings that we do with Sinisippi. So we're going to be doing 4, one in September, October, November, and December. They'll all be on a Thursday night, and there will be after hours, so we hope to get more people. As you know, participants have to be 16 years old to come to those trainings, and they walk away with training to how to recognize an opiate overdose, how to administer Narcan properly, and then, of course, they get a kit of Narcan when they leave. So we're pleased and happy to be offering that under our Inform and Educate domain. And then under Domain 2, which is our Investigate Health Problems and Environmental Public Health Hazards, we really do have to talk again about the continuing crisis with the vaping-related respiratory illnesses, currently affecting 36 states and has led to 7 deaths. Illinois Department of Public Health updates the Illinois numbers every Thursday afternoon, so the numbers that I'll give you tonight are from last week. And we are standing right now with 52 cases in Illinois, another 12 under investigation, and as you all probably remember, we were the first state to have a death from this illness. The median age of these cases is only 22. The youngest has been 15 and the oldest 41. That's Illinois data, not the other 36 states. And the majority of cases in Illinois have admitted that they were also using THC in their vaping product, which is, of course, the psychoactive chemical in marijuana. Center for Disease Control teams, if you didn't know, have been dispatched to both Wisconsin and Illinois to help with the investigation. And they also, CDC, activated their Emergency Operations Center this week on Monday. And that move allows them to allocate additional staff and additional resources to coordinate the investigation, which is, of course, as you know, pretty much nationwide. Something that is kind of interesting that has come up is that there's one possible culprit that has been identified so far in a line of illicit marijuana vape products sold under the brand names, I'm not making this up, Dank Vapes and Chronic Carts. A study published last week in the New England Journal of Medicine found that more than half of the patients who were extensively interviewed, and these were from Wisconsin and Illinois, because we were kind of the beginning of this, reported having used the Dark Vape brand. And in the meantime, of course, FDA is still processing some targeted product samples, but we're really not getting too far on that. Another interesting thing, if you haven't followed it in Wisconsin, is that they did break up a large-scale operation that was being run by 2 brothers that were allegedly making THC-infused vape cartridges. And they think this might be connected, but there hasn't been a connection made yet. There was a raid at these brothers' condo, and they netted 31,200 vape cartridges that were filled with THC, and also 98,000 empty vape cartridges and 57 mason jars filled with THC. So we'll have to watch that and see how that goes. And then the last one under Domain 8, which is maintain a competent public health workforce. September, as many of you know, is National Emergency Preparedness Month. So that's a month where we promote family and communities to plan for disasters, for disease outbreaks, or any human-caused emergencies. So since we know that during disasters, a lot of people often experience mental distress, at our all-staff meeting in September, we brought in the American Red Cross to train our staff in a 4-hour training on psychological first aid, helping others in times of stress. And this training focused on helping us recognize the signs of stress in our clients, in our coworkers, and in ourselves, and gave us some tools to give immediate support to people who might be experiencing stress. And we are happy that we're also facilitating this same course will be offered to our volunteers in police service and our community emergency response teams, our CERT teams, and that will be happening next month.
Questions for the Health Department? Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you.
Next up, R1 PC. There's a few notes here. Just they've passed some criteria for their surface transportation block grant funds, which will hopefully make those more of an equitable distribution. The TAP funds, or Transportation Alternative Programs, got about $850,000 in it that can be spent. So there's some project submittals that are due the first week of October, and we're currently assisting the Conservation and Park District with a submittal for that. There's a meeting scheduled November 14th to define the scope of the state planning and research funds. And then the Transportation Improvement Funds, or TIP funds, they've adopted those on August 29th, 2019, and that program year is for the 2020 through 2023 seasons. So if there's any questions on that, we can answer them, and I can have Justin see if he can clarify anything if you need anything. All right. Any other committees? Seeing none, next up I'd accept a motion for the general consent items.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Stark, seconded by Mr. Newhouse. Just want to point out on there are a couple of fund transfers, and there is another donation to our animal services. We do have some raffles for the United Way of Rock River Valley, River City Sound Chorus, Sweet Adelines, and Women's Garden Club of Boone County. Is anyone from any of those raffles here? Is there anything you'd like to say, or? Okay. You're just here for it? Okay. Okay. Any questions regarding that one? All right. Hearing none. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I have one question.
Ms. Ward.
Mr. Chairman. The last, according to Mr. Newport, I talked to him this week, the last bond payment has been made for $575,000. So how is that going to be handled? We no longer will have a jail bond fund because we don't owe any more money in the public. So what's going to happen, and how much money is in that fund right now?
I guess I would have to ask the finance department or finance committee to look into that. I believe the plan is to basically rename that fund instead of just jail bond fund to make it jail improvement fund or something like that. But those tax dollars will still go to a separate fund so that they can be tracked and maintained and utilized for jail purposes as they were intended.
How much? There's more than $1 million in that fund right now, I'm sure.
I don't believe so. I believe that I'm not certain. Mr. Newport, do you have any idea off the top of your head?
I believe don't quote me on this. I believe throughout this fiscal year, well, going back, we had basically enough in the fund balance at the end of last fiscal year in the jail bond fund was basically just enough to make the bond payment that was due on December 1st. So it emptied out the fund beginning of this fiscal year. If memory serves, I think we've collected about $1.2 million in revenue so far this fiscal year, which is basically on track according to the budget. I think the budget was like $1.5 million in revenue. Some of that has already been transferred, to support jail operations. So where the fund balance sits today, I don't know. I mean, my recollection, we don't need to go on my memory. You can look at your budgets. It was budgeted, all the revenue in that fund was budgeted for jail operations. And the revenue is pretty much on track with what was budgeted. So, if we follow our budget, the fund will basically be empty at the end of the fiscal year again.
Correct. And I believe that total was around 1.4 to 1.5 million was to be transferred for jail operations. Ms. Kieske, anything that you recall different?
No, that's exactly what I think. But it's not arbitrary. We have to use that money for public safety.
Correct.
We don't get to choose.
Correct. Anything else, Ms. Ward?
But, Chairman.
Yes, Ms. Kieske.
But we will take that up in finance and clarify that all. Good.
Super. Thank you. Next up, planning and zoning. I see there are no motions. Anything you'd like to throw out there for us?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you, sir. Finance, Ms. Kieske.
Item 10.1 is a motion to approve claims with the understanding that Carl Johnson abstains from voting on all claims presented by William Charles, and Denny Ellingson abstains from voting on all claims presented by Conserv FS. This was approved unanimously in committee.
Motion by Ms. Kieske, seconded by Mr. Carlisle. Discussion? Mr. Newhouse.
We had discussion, and now we have this memo here in front of us as it pertains to how mileage can be treated. Can I get the final sentence conclusion?
I guess UCCI or just?
UCCI, yes.
I guess it's my understanding from Mr. Johnson that all the board members are considered members of that committee. and so therefore mileage can be reimbursed for regular scheduled meetings. Not trainings for UCCI, but regularly scheduled association meetings.
Mr. Newhouse.
Should I gather from that comment then that since this was a regularly annual scheduled meeting in Dubuque, that every member can participate in collecting mileage for that? Or is this not a regularly scheduled monthly meeting? So I still don't know where we ended up here.
I think, just to clarify it, UCCI doesn't necessarily meet every month. I think they have quarterly meetings.
Yep.
So this was one of their regularly scheduled meetings that they have. They have some in Springfield. They have some in Galena. So it's one of their regularly scheduled meetings. Therefore, because it was a regularly scheduled meeting and a board member attended, they're entitled to that. Now, if we have several board members that are going, or if a board member wants to go and they would like to schedule a county car to go, we'd encourage that, to take a county car instead of their personal vehicle. We have some nicer vehicles available now to run, I think, so we'd rather do that. But if a board member does end up taking their own vehicle, then they are, by our ordinances and statutes, entitled to the reimbursement. Go ahead.
With multiple board members attending that meeting, it's my understanding there are different decisions on how to collect that mileage. I didn't know whether anyone wanted to amend their mileage requests or not. And I'm not hearing anything, so I think that issue's done.
Okay. Ms. Kieske.
I just want to follow up. We are members of other associations also, like IACBM, ISACO, and so does this pertain also to that? Because as board members, we are members of that association. So my question is, because they have training sessions also, or I don't know, regularly scheduled, spring and fall, that kind of stuff. So does this same thing apply, or because they are not listed in the statute or the ordinance, does it not apply?
I don't remember what the statute specifically says. Perhaps the state's attorney can help us. But in this instance with UCCI, it's very clear that UCCI is on our approved list to be paid. Therefore, it certainly, most definitely qualifies for those issues. Now, some people have said that they've been told in the past it didn't. Why that is the case, or I have no idea. The person that may have made that decision isn't available for comment. So there's nothing I can say about that.
I would just say on the third page of the memo, it's from our county code, section 2-67. A2, it lists other outside boards and agencies that the county board members are members of, or we have a position on that board. Some of them I know are specific people on this board, such as Mr. Carlisle is the appointed person to CASA, which is listed on here under G. And there's other people that are appointed, so that would be the only person that would be available for mileage for that one. So I think if it's listed on here and you're the appointed person, you can submit mileage. If you're have a question about whether you're appointed on a committee or not, such as UCCI, then I would suggest talking to the chairman about that list of appointments. Because I'm not personally sure which ones might be the entire board or one particular person.
As far as UCCI relates, I remember distinctly having that conversation when we were making appointments a few years ago, that we wanted to keep that open for all board members to be able to encourage them to go and attend those meetings and get to know other board members in other communities, interact with them, and heck, maybe you come back with a great idea on how to make us money or save us money or do something more efficiently, that kind of thing. So that was the purpose behind keeping UCCI open. Most of the other committees do have a specific board member who's appointed. And as far as those other county organizations that we are members of, they're not on the list. I know that we've had many discussions over the years about opening it up, I guess, so that if it's a committee that it's felt important to have a board member attend those meetings, that they should be able to be compensated for those meetings. But I don't know that it's ever been officially put on black and white. It's been talked about a lot, but I don't know if it's ever been put in black and white. So, Ms. Ward?
Through the years, we've added some and taken some off. They have to be listed here to be reimbursed. But there's one on here that I'm looking right now. Citizen Corps is still on there. And I don't think there is a Citizen Corps anymore. So I think periodically we should go through that list, take some off that aren't there, and maybe add the one that you're talking about to make sure that the ones that are currently good for us, you could go to and be covered.
Mm-hmm. Ms. Kieske?
Well, I'm just going to follow up with what Kathy said. I think perhaps it might be worth taking a peek at this whole section and make sure we've got the right ones on there, and I think clarify if the county board is a member of an association, thereby all county board members, so it's not the individual appointed. I think we need to clarify those rules, and then we won't work into this kerfuffle again.
Super. Mr. Newhouse, could you
I think we have an agenda item.
take that up? Thank you very much, sir. Any further discussion? All right, thank you. Ms. Kieske, I think it's still up to you.
I don't think we approved them.
We've still got claims, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've had...
I made the motion.
Just a second. Okay, yep.
Yep.
All right, any other discussion on claims? Roll call, please.
Sherry Bartell,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Muehlner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson.
Yes. Motion carries. Ms. Kieske?
Item 10.2 is a motion to approve an amendment to the Boone County Accounts Payable Policy.
Motion by
Second.
Ms. Kieske, seconded by Mr. Carlisle. Ms. Kieske, you want to
Yes.
give us the...
Yes. Thank you to our treasurer, Mr. Newport. He put together a slight change in the accounts payable policy, and what it basically does, he listed out the statutes and who has the statutory authority to sign for bills that come in, and he listed 30 of them, and out of the 30, only 4 have county board authority for signature, and 2 in conjunction with the treasurer or the sheriff. Therefore, what he has done is tried to simplify this so that the chair of the county board no longer has to sign those invoices also. And what he has done is he's added a statement that says, actually 2 of them, claims on statutory and grant funds not requiring county board approval may be submitted directly to the treasurer's office with the signature of the person authorized to approve such disbursements. A list of statutory and grant funds will be maintained by the county treasurer, and we have that attached.
Any discussion? Mr. Newhouse?
At the committee level, I appreciated the idea of wanting to simplify the process, but if this process was going to move forward without county board eyes on it, as it has in the past, the idea of removing it from the chairman's eyes seemed like a step backward to me. So I kind of like the extra set of eyes so that there would be the ability to catch anything that ought to be caught, and I would not like to see this change, so I'll be voting against it.
Ms. Kieske?
I think, and I certainly understand that. I think what the issue is what is the real reason to have the chair sign it? In other words, does the chair know that this box of bolts was actually purchased and received and all that kind of stuff? I don't think we can expect the chair of this county board to know all that. So the question I always ask myself is, let's, not that it would ever happen here, but if there are some shenanigans and you have the person who has statutory authority to sign for that signed off, and the county board chair does also, well, who's culpable here? So unless you, in my mind, I think we're relieving a burden on the chairperson that doesn't necessarily belong there.
Ms. Ward?
I'd like to know what the chair thinks.
To be honest, I don't. It's not a big deal one way or the other. When I have invoices or requests for signature in front of me, I try to take some time and look through them in detail to see what it is and see if I see anything that might catch my eye. However, as Ms. Gieske points out, I don't necessarily know everything that the departments are doing. So, there is a continual repetition of many invoices. And the example I've used is copier contracts. Those, it seems like I sign one of those or two of those every other day. I'm convinced we've got about 18,000 copiers in this county. So, but it's those kinds of things that I have no idea what their contract says. If it looks similar to what I think I've seen before for that particular department, I say okay. And to go through some of these things, I don't know. I think it's perfectly reasonable to expect that the head of that department is going to sign off on that invoice. They're going to code it correctly and make sure that it's priced properly. And if not, then we have questions to ask them. So if the board would prefer that I still look at them and sign them, I'm happy to do so. If we want to make this change, I'm fine with the change also. Ms. Bartelt?
I sat in on their meeting when all this was brought up, and I think the questions were asked and answered at that meeting. And to rehash them now, it should have been done then, shut and done in committee instead of started up here. So I think we should abide by what the committee ruled.
Anything further? Any other further discussion from the board? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Looks like the ayes have it. Motion carries.
Item 10.3 is a motion to approve the DevNet property tax and wedge software renewal for October 1st of 2019 through September 30th of 2024 in the amount of $39,673.91 per year, or a total of $198,369.55.
Motion by Ms. Gieske. Is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Newhouse. Discussion. Seeing none, roll call, please.
Jeff Carlisle?
Yes.
Denny Ellingson?
Yes.
Sherry Gieske?
Yes.
Carl Larson?
Yes.
Ray Larson?
Aye.
Jessica Muehlner?
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse?
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley?
Yes.
Brad Stark?
Yes.
Kathy Ward?
Yes.
Carl Johnson?
Yes.
Sherry Bartelt?
Yes.
Motion carries. Ms. Gieske?
Item 10.4 is a motion to approve the Lowell electric renewal bid from Aggressive Energy through Rock River Energy Services for county facilities. This was approved in committee.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Gieske, seconded by Mr. Carlisle. Discussion. Ms. Gieske?
We had some numbers back at the time of the Finance Committee meeting a week ago yesterday, but we waited until today to see if different bids come in because they don't stick very long, and they all are still the same.
Any further discussion? Mr. Carlisle?
If I remember correctly, this had an additional savings.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Sorry, go ahead, Ms. Gieske.
I'm sorry. Thank you. The annual cost savings will average approximately 10,000 years on this particular contract.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Mr. Street?
I would just ask that to specify in the motion the term, either the 12-month, 24-month, or 36-month.
Got it.
I think the recommendation from the supplier was for the 3-year term, which was the longest. We'd be able to lock in the lowest rate for the longest term.
Okay. Do I have a motion, amendment to the motion?
Yes, I'd like to amend the motion to indicate that we are going to use the 3-year term.
Amendment by Ms. Gieske. Is there a second?
I would agree to that amendment. Second.
seconded by Mr. Carlisle. Any discussion on the amendment for the 3-year term? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Let's
Next up, any further discussion on the motion as amended? Seeing none, roll call, please. Just to clarify, this is to approve the original motion with the 3-year amendment on it.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Giesky,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Muehlner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Bartelt,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Motion carries. Ms. Giesky.
Item 10.5 is a motion to approve the low natural gas renewal bid from Constellation Energy through Rock River Energy Services for the County Highway Department. I'll wait for a second and do more.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Giesky, seconded by Mr. Newhouse.
What we had been, our fixed rate before this was .3632, and we are going to be getting it for, the lowest bid was .2995. We will do a 3-year term, and this should save us approximately $470 per year. Doesn't sound like a lot, but we'll take it.
Do we need to clarify the term of the contract in the motion?
3 years. Did I say it? Didn't I say it? Okay.
No.
Let me amend it again. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I have one more to go. Maybe I'll get that one right. Maybe not. I'd like to amend my motion to include that it will be for a period of 3 months, or 3 years.
3 years. Okay. Amendment by Ms. Giesky. Is there a second?
You did say second.
Seconded by
I
Mr.
thought I
Carlisle.
did.
You did.
Any discussion on the 3-year contract amendment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Any discussion on the motion as amended? Ms. Bartelt, did you have your hand up? Okay.
I didn't have my hand up.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Sherry Giesky,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Muehlner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Bartelt,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Ms. Giesky.
Item 10.6 is a motion to approve the low natural gas renewal bid from Constellation Energy through Rock River Energy Services for the county courthouse jail facilities for a period of 3 years.
Motion by Ms. Giesky. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Carlisle. Discussion. Ms. Giesky.
Originally, this was at .327 cents. We are getting it now for a 3-year term, .28258. But the other thing that is good about this particular contract is we only pay for what we use.
Super. Any further discussion? Mr. Newhouse.
As a point of order, can we amend a motion during the making of the motion? Or does that have to be something that needs to be voted on as an amendment separate from the motion as it is written?
I see what you're saying, because the motion is written a certain way. I believe that you can amend it as, you can add that into the motion as you read it.
So we can create a motion that's not printed ahead of time and make that fly.
Right, well,
In other
and
words,
plus
can she add the term of the?
yes, I think that's fine, because the point of the agenda item on here is to give the public notice of what we're going to be voting on, and it's very clear that we're voting on the renewal for the bid for a supplier for the gas.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Muehlner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Bartelt,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Giesky.
Yes.
Motion carries. Ms. Giesky, anything further?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Roads, Mr. Stark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 11.1, a motion to approve Resolution 19-21, resolution for improvement under the Illinois Highway Code for the Poplar Grove Road Bridge.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Stark, seconded by Ms. Gieske. Any discussion? Mr. Newhouse.
Can you refresh my memory, Mr. Chairman, or Justin, what the total bill for this is, not just the county portion?
I see that our county highway engineer is here. We'd love Mr. Crone to come give us his expertise.
The reason why I ask is I had one of my constituents ask me, when's it going to be done, what's the price tag, and what portion is the county, and I fumbled. So if you could help me out, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll start with the first one is, what's the total price of the bridge? It's estimated to be $3.8 million. We're on the line for the $0.8 million roughly, $762. That's a 80-20 split, so 80% is federally funded, 20% locally funded. Timing, the bridge is still on schedule to be bid. Bid opening is first week of November, and it takes a while to do, the contractor will have to do submittals for the steel beams and different prefabricated materials. It takes a lot of lead time for that materials. So by the time all that happens, we've got in the contract, and it's agreed upon by a lot of the parties that use that bridge, the General Mills and Dean Foods, that construction per contract, the construction cannot happen until April. I'm sorry, the bridge cannot close until April. So the bridge, under contract, the bridge can be closed from April 2020 through Thanksgiving roughly. It's got to be opened again before Thanksgiving of 2020.
Ms. Gieske.
And I just want to give a shout out. Justin had an open house, so people could actually come and see all that and hear all that. He had an open house here a few weeks ago. No one came.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Ray Larson.
Aye.
Jessica Muehlner.
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse.
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley.
Yes.
Brad Stark.
Yes.
Kathy Ward.
Yes.
Carl Johnson.
Yes.
Sherry Bartelt.
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Denny Ellingson.
Yes.
Sherry Gieske.
Yes.
Carl Larson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Mr. Stark, anything else?
That is all.
Thank you. HHS, Mr. Carlisle, anything you'd like to enlighten us on?
We have no motions, but thank you for asking.
Thank you, sir. Admin, Mr. Newhouse, anything you'd like to throw at us?
I won't throw it, but Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the public comment rules and procedures for the Boone County Board.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Newhouse, seconded by Ms. Milner. Discussion. Mr. Newhouse.
We have been discussing for some time now and putting in print what we have as a county had at the board level for years, if not decades. We think we have created language with a couple of top paragraphs and 6 bullet points beneath that pretty well encapsulates what it is that we would like people to know prior to them making public comment. At times there has been confusion when people get up as to why we're not going to act immediately on what they say, but this pretty well spells out that cannot happen. That is simply public comment, and we can choose to address it at a later time. It does give the chairman freedom to interject at times if he so chooses, but thought this might be something worthwhile to pursue as a county, just to have it in print.
Any further discussion? Mr. Stark.
I will not be supporting this. The only two I think we really need are the first two. And I think it goes without saying that as the chairperson, you are the master of ceremonies here, so what you say does overrule everything else. If you wanted to stop someone's comment and or limit the time. So I will not be supporting this. I think it's a little too obtrusive and will not be going forward with it personally.
Ms. Ward.
I share Mr. Stark's comments. I have been at these meetings, as you know, 16 or 17 years, and I have rarely seen anybody come up here rarely in all those years, and do something that was not done in a dignified manner. And I don't know, are we going to send one of these out to everybody in Boone County and say, if you want to come and speak, here's the rules? I mean, I think any time that we try to infringe on public comment, we're doing a disservice to our people.
Mr. Ellingson.
Yeah, I've struggled with this for several meetings now and that, but the one I look at tonight, if you just want to, okay, what's the problem, Mr. Ellingson? Answer is when it says the speaker must submit must complete a speaker slip prior to the start of the meeting. Now, we've had people step up and sign that after the start of the meeting many times. I don't think we want to get quite that picky on it. I think if we want them to do it prior to statement, and even that is questionable because many times we've told people, well, you can go ahead and make a comment, but fill the slip out before you leave so we've got it. We need to have it for record keeping. That really is the reason we have them do it, I think, is for record keeping. So if we can do it without all this other games and people question whether we're really doing it properly or not because of the way this is written, I'd sure love to keep it simple.
Mr. Newhouse.
I guess I will look at that in a different light. If a person chooses to come to a county board meeting for the first time in his or her life, and they have no idea what is expected of them and how to pursue their time in the public comment time, this gives them a basic ground rule of which to start from. As it may be considered the best way for people to know where this is and where they can get a hold of it, I would think on a redeveloped public website for the county, it might be a good idea that everyone would have access to it at that point if they chose to look for it.
Ms. Milner.
Thank you. I would agree with Mr. Newhouse in that I don't think that providing a framework for comments, public comments to be submitted to the board is obtrusive or limiting in any way, but it ensures that everyone that comes to the board with concerns is treated equally. If we set up a framework on how we're going to deal with it, then that is how we deal with it, and everyone that comes to the board is treated equally. And not that this board would ever do that, but if there were issues or concerns that were supported by or not supported by members of the board, would speakers feel like they were being cut off or not being given their fair time? If we set up a framework and we say everyone is treated this way, then I think that that's very fair and very equitable and is not an obstructionist way of dealing with the public.
Ms. Kieske.
And my memory fails me often, but I thought during our discussion in committee on this, we also thought we'd put one out on the bulletin board, that old-fashioned, tack it up there.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, admin has no further motions at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Newhouse. City County, Ms. Ward, anything you'd like to enlighten us on?
Motion, sir.
Thank you. Public safety. Anything you'd like to share with us? I know there's no motions.
No motions, Mr. Chairman. Maybe a comment as it's budget season. Please keep the public safety in mind. They could use anything extra, I'm sure, that they could get.
There we go. Thank you. How much did the sheriff entice you to say that? No, it's just all on your own? Wow, okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Larson. Special committee, community building.
We meet tomorrow, sir.
Thank you. UCCI, Mr. O'Malley, were you there?
There's no meeting
No
right
way?
now. We just had
Okay.
the one last month about marijuana. There is going to be a meeting on Monday, the 23rd.
Monday the 23rd, and where's that one at? In Springfield, correct?
That's in Springfield. I'll be leaving at 5:30 from the sheriff's office. You could give me a squad car.
You'll get there in a hurry. Community Action Agency.
And that meeting is next week, sir.
Super. Mr. Newhouse, 911.
Having missed the 911 board meeting, I called up a couple committee members, and they said we paid our bills. It was a quick meeting.
Perfect. Land Bank.
No meeting yet.
Perfect. Any other committees? Mr. O'Malley.
I had the VAC meeting on Monday. It's interesting, Marjorie Carlson has given them $50 a month for 5 years, and she's 103 years old. They brought her birthday cake. That was appropriate. They've been extremely busy in August, almost overwhelmed, and they're getting more mental health issues, which they really can't handle. And so far, they're spending about everything they have, and everything looks good for them right now. There is a special gift to the Yankees. It's going to be done by the American Legion for homebound veterans. And the American Legion can order, gets a set of a robe and 3 items that they can get for free out of Springfield for Christmas, I think.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other committees? Scheduling committees. Ms. Kieske.
The next Finance Committee meeting, regularly scheduled, is October 8th at 6 p.m. However, if you'd like to join us, our next budget meeting is September 24th at 6 p.m. here in this room.
Mr. Larson.
The next Public Safety Committee meeting will be October 3rd, 2019 at 6 p.m. in this room.
Thank you.
The next PZB meeting is scheduled for the 2nd of October in this room at 6 o'clock.
Mr. Newhouse.
Admin, Tuesday, October 5th, 1st, 6 p.m. this room.
Ms. Ward.
City County is Wednesday, October 9th at 6 p.m. in this room.
Mr. Carlisle.
In addition, on the 9th, Health and Human Services will meet in this room, 6 o'clock, 6:45.
Thank you. Mr. Stark.
Roads and Capital Improvement, this room, October 3rd, 6:30.
Super. Any, Mr. Edmondson, any unfinished business?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Any new business by anyone? We do have one brief executive session for litigation. Mr. Edmondson, would you, before we do that, Mr. Edmondson, would you like to just give a brief chat about the IMRF audit?
We were fortunate enough to be selected for an audit by the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund. Having been through these before, I can tell you they are painful and a lot of work. But kudos to Erica in Julie's office, and also to the admin support staff that gathered all the documents that they insisted that they see. There were a couple of minor issues. Most of those were corrected either prior to the report being issued or slightly thereafter. But again, a very good report, and just kudos to Erica and the staff in Julie's office and the admin staff for finding all the documents.
Ms. Kieske?
Different topic. Can we also have a discussion on personnel during executive session also?
If you so desire.
I do.
Okay. Mr. Newhouse.
If I could get back to the audit, when were we given notice we were going to be audited? Could I ask what type of dollars are involved in the labor for that, or was this mostly a punch of a button and we got what we need and no expense?
For this audit, this was all on IMRF. This was not, didn't cost us anything.
Glad to hear it.
Anything further? Mr. Ellingson.
I got to ask, you're saying they paid us for the time we spent working on it? Okay.
No, that's not the way that works.
Sure, that we didn't get confused on that. So it did cost us some.
Sure, that's true.
Right, but no additional out-of-pocket, just staff time, just staff time to support the requests.
Right, okay.
Ms. Kieske?
Well, I think we're all looking for that other $45,000 bill. That's what we're all worried about when we have our regular audits. But the other thing, it's every 5 years about we have them, right?
Okay, anything further? Other than that, I'd accept a motion to go into executive session for litigation and personnel. Motion by Mr. Carlisle, seconded by Ms. Kieske. Roll call, please.
Jessica Muehlner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse.
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Bartell,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson.
Aye.
Motion carries.